So how do you create a path towards wealth when you're 18 years old? And this is a moment in time where you're just getting started, you don't have a lot, but it's arguably the most important time to start. And it's really you creating the foundation that's going to help you succeed in the future. So what we're going to go over in this video is all the steps and moves that you need to make now that are going to put you ahead of everyone else who doesn't do this. It's going to be really important. So that's what we're going to cover today. Before we go in, we're going to ask that you hit the like button, subscribe. It's huge. I mean, in this case, it's like, dude, if we're trying to change the youth here, we need them to see this. And 13 to 17-year-olds are not paying attention. So we're right on the line right here. So hit the like button, force YouTube to get this stuff out here. We appreciate it. Thank you, guys. So you're 18. We talked about the foundation, which is the most important part. And actually a quote that I think is spot on is, a building can only be as tall as the foundation is strong enough to build upon. So the foundation really is not only the starting point, but really the most important point for everything you're going to do moving forward. And really the very first thing that you have to make sure that you are kind of aligned on is your mindset or your belief system. And you have to completely believe that it is possible for you to be successful, if you want to make millions, to become a millionaire, to retire financially free. If you don't believe that it's possible, everything we tell you moving on from this point is irrelevant. It really has to start with you not only thinking it's possible, but telling yourself, I'm going to go out and do this. There's a couple challenges here for people depending on kind of your upbringing. We made a video not that long ago talking about your relationship with money. And in it, we kind of mentioned that based on your parents or their belief system with money, a lot of times it's passed down to you and you just kind of inherit the challenges or struggles that they had. Robert Kiyosaki, in his famous book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, spoke about the way his poor dad talked to him versus his rich dad. And his poor dad would always tell him, we can't afford that. Robert would ask for something, he'd say, we can't afford that. His rich dad would say, never say that you can't afford something. You need to tell yourself, how can I afford that? So with that said, I would really recommend reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's a really good example of some of the things that you maybe were taught that you need to work past so that you're able to succeed. Another book I read that was a game changer for me was Think and Grow Rich, all about making sure your mindset is positioned for you to succeed, because that really is the deciding factor between us really moving forward or being held back. So this whole part is going to be, you need to educate yourself, make sure that your mindset is set to go, and then at that point, we'll start introducing the next step, which we're going to give you right now. Before we go in on the next kind of thing you have to get in order, I think we should talk about college, because when you're 18, you're kind of at this crossroads. Most kids don't know what they want to do with their career. And so if you're graduating high school and you're looking at college as an opportunity for you to figure out what you want to do, I would not go to college. College is not the place to figure it out. I would take a year off, do a gap year, and think of things that interest you and then try to go get experience in those interests. So if, let's say money interests you or finance, go find a family office and see if you can intern there and see if you enjoy it. If you like financial literacy, DM a brand and see if there's anything you could do for them so that you're one, getting experience, and two, trying to figure out if this is even something you like. If it's not, find another interest, go get experience, and try to find a career that I would say you're excited about. Once you know if it's something you're excited about, then you can make the decision on if college is going to help you succeed and get to your end goal faster. If it is, then go to college. If college isn't going to get you any faster, don't waste your time and money with college. When it comes to getting a career, regardless if you go to college or not, a lot of people look at their career as a way to make money. And I would really try to throw that belief out of your mind. And the reason I say that is a lot of people won't take jobs because a certain job won't pay them enough, or they'll take a job that they don't really like because they're going to pay them a lot. Those are not reasons to go work. I would look at jobs as a way for you to learn new skills. And by working at new places and the fact that you're learning new skills and ultimately putting more tools in your tool chest, this is bettering you to succeed at the next level and the next step. So being really mindful of the importance for you to move up. And if you get to a job and there's nothing else you could learn and they're not pushing you anymore, it's time for you to leave that job. But this is a good way for you not to get stuck in a job that you don't like and also lose out on an opportunity that's possibly going to give you more skills to make more money down the road that you might not have taken because they weren't going to give you the certain amount of money that you felt you were worth at that time. The first thing I'm going to say, and this is a very important step, is do not get yourself in debt. Debt is something that you want to avoid at all costs, but I'm talking specifically about consumer debt. Don't put debt on credit cards, car loans, something that you're paying a high interest rate for something that is not an investment. And the reason I'm saying this is the first thing you really want to do is open a credit card. You need to start building credit. But this is a part where people can get in a lot of trouble. And it's why I wanted to start with don't put yourself in debt. Open a credit card. And when you open a credit card, the real thing you need to remember is buy something that you can afford. Don't use a credit card as a loan and pay it off in full every single month. We actually made a whole video on how to open a credit card even before you're 18, or how you can start building credit at 18 before you have credit. So I'll leave that in the notes for you to go watch, but you need to start building credit. It's really important once you get to the point of wanting to possibly borrow money in the case of buying a home, making investments, starting a business. Without credit, you're not going to be able to get that. So it's really important to establish that now. Also, on the debt side, when you're young, it's all about creating disciplines. It's all about basically this idea of being responsible with little before you're responsible with a lot. So when you're 18, they're not going to give you a high credit limit. And if you learn how to manage your spending and not get yourself in debt, it's going to set yourself up so that you never get in a point where you're struggling with debt, because debt is something that will always hold you back. If you think of like, I would say neutral as debt-free, and any type of investments you're making is putting you in the offense. If you're in credit card debt or consumer debt, you're now in defense. Getting out of credit card debt is a ton of work, and it's just to get you to neutral. You're not even making steps forward. So don't even put yourself in that disadvantage, and setting it up so that your disciplines are created while you're young. You won't have to even bother with that when you're older. After you open your credit card, so you can start building credit, open a bank account. I don't think it really matters which bank you're at. I've used Citibank my whole life. Just make sure that they're not charging you crazy fees. I know there's a lot of banks out there actually that will waive fees if you're below 25, but it is important for you to start your own bank account. You want to be independent, and also the next step that we talk about, automating your savings and ultimately your investments. You need to have your own bank account set up for that. So go start your bank account right after you apply for a credit card. Big one here. Start getting used to living off less than you make. And I know when you're 18, you're not making that much money. So to think like, I'm barely getting by, how am I going to live off less than I'm making? This is a really good time to do it. One, going back to discipline, you're creating disciplines and you're getting used to spending less than you make. That's a huge one. Two, because you're young and you're getting started, it's like nobody's expecting you to have it all together. You can have roommates. You could really, I think, get by with not spending a lot. But more importantly, it's all about the discipline. So I think it's good to set this up now. When we talked about setting up your bank account, this is the time for you to automate your savings. It's called pay yourself first. So basically, and we have a whole video on this, so I'll include this in the notes as well, so you get a full understanding of how it works. But basically, you're gonna pick a percentage, let's call it 10%, and 10% is gonna be taken out of your paycheck right away. And that 10% is gonna go towards your savings or your investments. So setting all this stuff up now is going to help you stay on par so that when you start making money, you have all this created already. You don't have to get used to living below your means or being disciplined in the sense of saving money every month. You already have that covered. So it'll be natural for you to stay the par. And as you make more money, you ultimately start saving more and investing more. So you opened your credit card, you opened your bank account, you automated your savings, go open a Roth IRA. This one is, as far as getting started early, this might be the most important one. You can go to Fidelity, Schwab, Vanguard, open a Roth IRA and start contributing to it. And if you don't know what a Roth IRA is, it's a retirement plan that you invest post-tax dollars into. So you make your money, you pay your taxes, then you put this money into this fund. And it's a long-term investment. You can't pull money out until you're 59 and a half. But when you do pull it out, all of your gains are tax-free. And actually, one thing Tony Robbins said that will show you the power of getting started early. If you're 18 years old and you invest $300 a month for 8 years, and then you don't reinvest another dollar after that, by the time you retire, you'll be financially free and you'll have, I think it's just under $1.8 million. So the 8 years of investing $300 a month totals a little over $28,000. That $28,000 turns into $1.7 million and it's all tax-free. And basically, this is to the example he gave you. The stock market has gone up about 10% each year for the last 30 years. When it's in a Roth, it's going to be invested for the next 30 years. And because of compound interest and the fact that it starts growing so significantly over time, investing in a Roth when you're 18 is going to be a game changer. So put as much as you can into that while you're 18. It will, Tony Robbins said it, 1.7 million bucks. That's huge. I'm going to end it on this. It's really important that you are surrounding yourself with the right people. When you're young, a lot of times you're hanging out with childhood friends, and a lot of times you guys aren't headed towards the same path. And that could really hinder where you're going. So it's one, really good to make sure you're surrounded by people who are motivating you, pushing you, and inspiring you to be better. Two, and this is something that's actually been really helpful for me. I was always surrounded by people that were better than me. When I was skateboarding, I was always surrounded by skaters that were better than me. When I started going into business, I was always surrounded by people who were smarter than me. And what that did was it, one, gave me a view of what could be done at a higher level. And two, it gave me an example of something that I was trying to chase. And it ended up, I think, pushing me harder than I would have pushed myself if I didn't have that person that I was trying to be as good at. So make sure you're mindful of being the dumbest person in the room. If you're trying to do some type of sport, make sure you're the worst in the building. Put yourself in situations that are gonna drive the most out of you. And the very last thing, don't ever feel embarrassed to ask questions. You don't need to know all the right answers. You don't need to know everything. Ask questions, and most people will actually be stoked that you asked and give you a ton of information that will really, this whole entire game is empowering yourself and bettering yourself. So always put yourself in a position that you're gonna get the most out of it, and you're gonna do fine. So I would say audit your friendship, ask a ton of questions, create disciplines while you're young, and you are gonna have a very, very bright future.